Ever pondered how unlettered Arabs laid the foundation of modern civilization? Let's take a journey back in time to the period before Islam, when the Arab tribes led a nomadic lifestyle, known as the Bedouin lifestyle. The Arabian Peninsula, a vast desert landscape, was dotted with tribes, each with its own unique set of traditions and customs. These tribes were largely illiterate, with no formal education system in place. Instead, they relied on the oral tradition to pass down knowledge from generation to generation. A rich culture of stories, poetry, and music evolved from this tradition, which became a cornerstone of Arab identity. Despite the lack of formal education, the Arabs were not without their own set of values. Honor, hospitality, and courage were virtues held in high esteem. These values, deeply ingrained in their tribal system, formed the backbone of their society. But as the 6th century dawned, a monumental shift was about to occur. In the arid lands of Mecca, a new religion was born that would forever change the course of Arab history. This was the advent of Islam, brought forth by the Prophet Muhammad. Islam introduced a new way of life to the Arabs, one that emphasized the pursuit of knowledge. The Quran, the holy book of Islam, became the first written document in the Arabic language, marking a significant departure from the oral tradition. With its emphasis on literacy and learning, Islam not only transformed the spiritual landscape of the Arab world, but also triggered a revolution in education. The once unlettered Arabs were now encouraged to seek knowledge, leading to an explosion of intellectual curiosity and scholarly pursuit. This newfound thirst for knowledge laid the groundwork for what would later become the Golden Age of Islam, a period of remarkable advancements in various fields, from science and philosophy to arts and architecture. And thus a new chapter in the history of the Arabs began with the advent of Islam. The unlettered Arabs, once bound by the confines of their tribal societies, were now part of a larger civilization, one that would leave an indelible mark on the world. This was just the beginning of their journey towards becoming a beacon of knowledge and enlightenment in the world. What if I told you that this was the beginning of a golden age? A time when the unlettered Arabs of the desert were soon to shape the course of history and lay the foundation for modern civilization. Picture this, a society that was once nomadic, now becoming the epicenter of knowledge and wisdom. This was the Golden Age of Islam. This period, stretching from the 8th to the 14th centuries, was an era of unprecedented intellectual growth and scientific advancement. It was during this time that the Islamic world made remarkable strides in various fields, from mathematics and astronomy to medicine and philosophy. One of the most remarkable aspects of this age was the growth of education. The Arabs were not content with the knowledge they had. They sought more. They thirsted for it. And so, they built grand libraries like the House of Wisdom in Baghdad, where scholars from all over the world gathered to share and expand their knowledge. They established universities, fostering a culture of learning and intellectual curiosity. But the Golden Age of Islam was not just about institutions. It was also about the people. It was about the Muslim scientists who pushed the boundaries of knowledge. Scholars like Al-Khwarizmi, who is known as the father of algebra, and Ibn Sina, whose medical texts were used in European universities for centuries. These were the minds that sparked a revolution in thought and understanding. The Golden Age was not confined to the Islamic world. Knowledge, like water, finds its way. The wisdom of the Arabs seeped into Europe, influencing the Renaissance. They translated Greek, Persian, and Indian texts, preserving them for future generations. They were the bridges that connected the East and the West, the old and the new. And yet, this was more than just a period of scientific and intellectual advancement. It was a time when the values of tolerance, openness, and intellectual freedom were held high. A time when the pursuit of knowledge was considered a noble endeavor. The Golden Age of Islam was indeed a period of enlightenment and intellectual growth. It was a time when the unlettered Arabs of the desert not only learned to read and write, but also taught the world a thing or two about science, philosophy, and the pursuit of knowledge. Did you know that this age was not just a period of advancement for the Arabs, but for the entire world? The Golden Age of Islam was a time of profound cross-cultural diffusion, a melting pot of knowledge from diverse corners of the world. This was a time when the wisdom of the Greeks, the insights of the Persians, and the philosophies of the Indians found a common language: Arabic. This grand unification of knowledge was facilitated by what is known as the translation movement. Imagine scholars, scribes, and translators huddled over parchment, quills scratching away as they diligently translated texts from Greek, Persian, and Sanskrit into Arabic. This movement wasn't just about translation, it was about preservation and expansion of knowledge. But the story doesn't end with Arabic translations. What happened next was equally, if not more, significant. These Arabic translations were then translated into Latin. This was a game changer. Why, you ask? Because Latin was the lingua franca of the Western world. Suddenly a door was opened for the West to access the collective wisdom of the East, a wisdom that had been inaccessible due to language barriers. Now let's fast forward a few centuries to the Renaissance, a period of cultural, artistic, political, and economic rebirth following the Middle Ages in Europe. Have you ever wondered how the Renaissance, this explosion of knowledge and innovation, was possible? It was in part due to the Latin translations of Arabic texts. These texts brought to the West a wealth of knowledge in fields like mathematics, astronomy, medicine, and philosophy, setting the stage for the Renaissance. So, the Golden Age of Islam was not just a golden age for the Arabs, it was a golden age for the world. It was a time when knowledge transcended cultural and linguistic barriers, when wisdom was shared freely, and when the collective intellect of humanity was enriched. The Golden Age of Islam was a bridge between ancient and modern civilizations. However, the glory of this age was not to last. The sun began to set on the Golden Age of Islam as a new power emerged on the horizon: the Mongols. Led by Genghis Khan, they rode from the steppes of Central Asia, sweeping across the continent like a storm. The Mongols, known for their military prowess and strategic genius, were a force to be reckoned with. Their invasion began in the early part of the 13th century, and it brought a wave of destruction and devastation to the Arab world. Cities that were once the crown jewels of Islamic civilization, like Baghdad, were left in ruins. The House of Wisdom, the intellectual hub of the Arab world, was not spared either. The Mongols razed the Grand Library to the ground, causing invaluable manuscripts to be lost forever. Universities, schools, and centers for learning shared a similar fate. This was a significant blow to the educational system of the time. The destruction of these institutions meant the loss of generations of knowledge and intellectual progress. The Mongol invasion did not just destroy physical structures. It brought an end to the Golden Age of Islam. The cultural, scientific, and intellectual advancements that had been made during this time were stalled, and the Arab world was plunged into a period of decline. This was a time of great turmoil for the Arab world. The invasion disrupted trade routes, causing economic instability. The social fabric was torn apart as communities were uprooted and displaced. But perhaps the most significant impact was on the psyche of the people. The Golden Age had been a time of enlightenment and progress, where the Arab world was a beacon of knowledge and learning. The Mongol invasion shattered this image, leaving in its wake a sense of loss and despair. The Mongol invasion marked the end of an era of progress and enlightenment. This period of history serves as a stark reminder of the fragility of civilizations and the cyclical nature of human progress. Despite the destruction and loss, the legacy of the Golden Age lives on, reminding us of the heights human civilization can reach when curiosity, knowledge, and openness are encouraged. But what remains of this once glorious civilization, you may ask? Well, the legacy of the Golden Age of Islam is not only enduring, but also profoundly influential, even in the modern world. The advent of Islam marked a new chapter in the history of the Arabs, creating a period of enlightenment and intellectual growth that we now fondly refer to as the Golden Age. This was a time when science, philosophy, and the arts flourished, and the thirst for knowledge was insatiable. The translation movement during this age played a crucial role in the cross-cultural diffusion of knowledge, bringing together the wisdom of the Greeks, Indians, Persians, and other ancient civilizations, and blending it with Arab innovation. This fusion of knowledge and innovation created a unique and powerful legacy. The Arab scientists and philosophers of this era laid the groundwork for many modern scientific disciplines, from astronomy and mathematics to medicine and philosophy. Their inquisitive minds and relentless pursuit of knowledge have shaped much of our understanding of the world today. Yet the Mongol invasion marked the end of this golden age, bringing with it chaos, destruction, and a halt to the intellectual growth that had been the hallmark of this era. But even in the face of such adversity, the legacy of this civilization endured, its influence seeping into the fabric of modern society. Today, we see this influence in various aspects of our lives. The number system we use, the star names in our constellations, the medical practices we follow, and the philosophical ideas we ponder, all bear the indelible mark of this golden age. However, we must also acknowledge a concerning issue: the growing disconnect between Islamic teachings and scientific inclination. This calls for a re-evaluation of our educational systems to foster scientific curiosity and knowledge, just as the unlettered Arabs did centuries ago. So, even though the golden age of Islam may be a chapter in history, its legacy is far from a distant memory. It continues to inspire, influence, and remind us of a time when knowledge and curiosity were the driving forces of a civilization. The unlettered Arabs laid the foundation of modern civilization, a testament to the power of knowledge and curiosity.